But you've had a lot of critics out there, and I want to talk about specifically one anecdote that I've heard you tell before. It is a horrific story of a sex trafficking survivor. Nobody is questioning that the story happened, that she is actually who she is, says she is, and that this happened. The question is about the timing and the implication of you telling the story. The New York Times has this, none of this happened during President Biden's administration, but that didn't stop the first-term senator from strongly implying that the president could have somehow prevented it from happening, using rhetoric that seemed calibrated to inflame public fears about immigration. Did you mean to give the impression that this horrible story happened on President Biden's watch?
No, Shannon, look, I very specifically said this is what President Biden did during his first 100 days.
That is Katie Britt being called out by, well, everyone, thankfully, over the weekend. But there, Fox News calling her out for doing what she denied doing, but 100% did in her State of the Union response. She intended for everyone who heard her, I'm gonna say speech, I don't know exactly if that's the right term for what she did, to believe that Biden was president when this horrible story happened, that it happened in a way that it did not actually happen, that it happened in a place that it did not happen, and that it happened during a time that it did not happen. What she effectively did was she found like a shortcut to criticizing a president, which is you just say their name, then you say a disconnected bad thing that happened, and then you say their name again. And honestly, I think it's a pretty amazing strategy. And I do have to say at this point,
just FDR, 9/11, boom. Now it's in your head, FDR did 9/11.
Yeah, Donald Trump, I think, is a threat to national security. Terrorists flew planes into the Twin Towers. Trump is a threat to national security.
Easy.
That's not, what are you doing, Katie Britt? Dear God. Now, look, if I'm jumping past your knowledge of this, if there's a chance that you didn't see her speech, which I don't think there is, here is a little bit of it.
I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12. She told me not just that she was raped every day, but how many times a day she was raped. We wouldn't be okay with this happening in a third world country. This is the United States of America, and it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it.
So did she try to imply that it happened under Biden? Yes, she tried to imply that it happened under Biden, which it didn't, that it happened in America, which it didn't, that it happened during the time he was president, which it didn't. And she even lied about parts, I'm not even sure why she lied about. It wasn't even the cartel that was doing it. It seems largely irrelevant. It was a tragedy regardless, but apparently she was so revved up to lie that she just had to fit in a few more. And look, we're gonna break down what actually happened, and we're gonna have the responses to it. But look, I just have to say, coming out of this, I understand that at this point we're trained to have no faith in what politicians say. Like if you trust a politician, then that's a really weird way to go about your life. That said, she should be censured for this. Am I crazy to think that that is wildly dishonest? And this was not a random comment on the House floor or in a Fox appearance, although she did also lie on Fox. This was the official GOP response to Biden. She prepared that, and she viciously lied in multiple ways. There should be censure. I mean, maybe only the Democrats can do it. Maybe it won't get past a filibuster or something like that. But we cannot allow you to just lie about events happening under the wrong president. It was literally a Republican president that was president of a different country than the country it happened in. I apologize, Francesca. I've honestly, we sat through tens of thousands of Trump lies. This is almost worse than any of them because of how malicious it is. What do you think?
Look, when I first heard the rebuttal, I heard the story and I was like, I bet your ass that's not true. Like because what happens in Republican spheres, and everyone is guilty of this. So this is my second point. But the first point is I was like, I call BS on this. And lo and behold, it largely was, and it definitely didn't happen under the Biden administration. It's not on his watch, which is sort of like if you back time it when she was like, she started being trafficked at the age of 12. I talked to a woman. So you're saying 6 years ago is when it started. When did it end? Like there's a lot of things that could have been easily checked out about that. But here's what I will say. Rarely do we actually follow up on these anecdotes that Republicans spew constantly? It really doesn't matter, right? They say all kinds of lies about especially undocumented immigrants and things that they do or don't do. And everyone's just like, I guess, like, but it's interesting that even Fox News and some right wingers are actually trying to check her, especially on this rebuttal, which never happens. And I don't know, maybe it's that she's a woman and they didn't like her performance, in which case I guess it's like sexism works out because it's exposing some of the lies that the Republicans spew. I know people like really truly hate that, but I feel like if she were a dude and she did a better job at this, no one would care that this anecdote was totally out of left field and inaccurate.
I think for me, it's that it's not a matter of exaggeration, or it's not a matter of taking something that you can't say the president was responsible for, but implying that a president is responsible for everything that happens in the country while they're the president. That's the normal sort of lie. This is sociopathic, the level of lie here. It is such a weird thing to do. And honestly, I believed that it happened under Biden. I was naive. I criticized her on the main show, pointing out you're talking like this because you're so aggrieved about rape. You're literally endorsing a rapist for president. You don't seem to mind that. And also you're part of the GOP. Like how many rapists have they been apologists for over the years?
And you brought up a really important point quickly, which is that she helped author this border bill that Trump is saying he doesn't want to pass. So here she is like, Biden's not doing anything. It's like, no, Trump was the one who told Republicans not to vote on it. That's why it didn't pass. Keep going.
Yeah, and never mind the fact that as I pointed out on Friday, of course, if she became pregnant as a result of all these rapes, she would 100% require the woman to bear the rapist child. So she's awful in a lot of different ways. And like, it seems weird to even say the word performative about her because it is so clearly true, performatively pretending to care about women who've had these horrific experiences. But to use one that happened from 2004 to 2008, that wasn't even under Trump, that wasn't even under Obama. That was so long ago in a different country. You weird woman, I don't understand. I don't even get why you would do this. There have definitely been rapes. We live in a terrible world. You can't go a year without something like this happening, but you don't even care to find those cases. You just go for one from 2 decades ago almost. Such a bizarre thing.